good afternoon, good evening. Turgon the Wise here, bringing you one last video from Yudz. And in today's video, we're going to recap my 21st season playing Lord of the Rings Rise to War. First and foremost, in case there's anyone out there who isn't aware that is watching this, the game is being sunset at the end of this year. Apparently, the licensing to the Lord of the Rings content has not been renewed for NetEase, and all of these servers will be immediately shut down at the conclusion of this year. You can go to the official Lord of the Rings Rise to War Discord to see that announcement. I think they're still letting people on that Discord, but in general, everything has been turned off. You can no longer make in-app purchases, and a lot of people have stopped playing the game. So, real quick, just checking here on my siege that's going on over here at Minas Tirith. I will tell you a long tale of all of the things that have happened during the course of this season to the best of my ability. But currently, where we're at right now is we have kingdomed with KSER, and I just want to thank Wanted and the folks over in KSE for joining with us so that we could get this gold badge. I really truly appreciate the thought and the collaboration. Um, it's been nice working with you guys. I wish we could have done something maybe a little bit sooner, but this is how the cookie crumbled. This is how the cards fall, and I am not going to complain about it at all. Let's check out a couple of these pins here real quick before I start going into the recap. We have a red pin up in Lorien between Unbroken, Whim, Lame, LKOA, and a Sprinkle of Dora, Bear, and Unaffiliated. It's a 2.5 million death, 7.2 million participant pin. It's been going on for about 2 weeks now. And then down here in Lameden, we have a big pin with Lame on top. Ha! Lameden and Lame. That's kind of silly. What a way to finish out this season fighting Lame and Lameden. It's a 2-day pin. Just about 16 million participants and 6 million deaths. So a lot of heavy fighting going on there, which is really, really cool. Let's just check on this here. It looks like it's going down nice and easy. And for anyone who isn't aware, our season ends tonight. It is a little bit past 1900 UTC on the 11th currently. Um, so at reset tonight, this server will officially come to a close, and we will head to Bag End tomorrow. And um, before I start recapitulating everything that happened, this is the final season of Yudz. There will no longer be a Yudz after this season. Yudz is effectively, for the most part, dead. Now, what happened this server? Well, Yudz, as I've told in my previous videos, we spawned up in Erebor, and we spawned on top of Bear's partner Dora, and we held there for a while. You know, we pretty much dominated Dora. We were a much stronger team than them. And then when the passes opened on day 5, we fought with Bear in the very northern part of northern Ravanian for about a day. And between Bear coming forward from this direction and Dora quickly, as soon as we moved to start fighting Bear, Dora started eating our flank. And as I said in my previous videos, I tip my cap to them for being resilient and for being as active as they were in eating our farm from the rear, taking our regions from the rear. And in the end, we got squished between them, and there was nothing we could do and nowhere we could go. So we made the decision as a group within leadership to join our partners who we hadn't officially partnered with them at the time, but we talked it out with Lame, and we decided to change our spawn region over to Rohan, where Lame was fighting this Green Kingdom, which was Skull and Hive Mind, and they were doing a 2v1 against Skull Hive Mind, and they were doing very well. And then we came down here, and we just kind of ate all of the leftover tiles, and it really stunted our growth. Starting the warband over, we were probably level 30 or 40, maybe even higher by that's when we left Erebor, and having to restart the warband down here at 0, that hurt us. We lost the ability to make an employment hall, fortresses. All of those things play a really, really big impact. So it was kind of like a difficult decision between, do we just stay and keep getting pounded on, or do we go and work with our partners? And we decided that it would probably be best to work with our partners, but maybe in hindsight, maybe we should have stayed, and we could have continued pestering these guys from behind and made it more difficult for them to come down here. Who's to say? I don't typically like to go down the what if rabbit hole, but it's just one of those curiosities I have, like what would have happened if we had done that. Looks like we'll be taking Minas Tirith very shortly here, which is cool. So getting back to this, it wasn't even like the 10-day passes hadn't even opened yet, and we were down here, we're farming, we're working with Lame to kind of push back um, Skull and Hive Mind from these southern Rovanian regions, and try to get into Dead Marshes. And I will admit I don't remember all of the details of this part of the season clearly anymore. This is a very long season. It's a season that started on a Tuesday, so it's a longer season. This is the 57th day of the season. This season started almost 2 months ago. So my recollection is not as crisp as maybe it was back then. So you can go back and watch the videos that I had made back then to get those details. Now, I stopped making videos for a number of reasons. Personally, I just didn't have time really to make them. And also, I just didn't want to. There was a lot of things happening within the Yudz leadership. um, I had brought things to leaders' attention, and there was a lot of debating and such. And ultimately, after the 10-day passes, Open Bear came through. Skull and Hive Mind let them in here, so effectively it was a 6 versus 2 for a time. And then eventually they decided to start fighting Unbroken and Moab out here in the west. Moab still has these purple territories, and Unbroken is now this like rust red color down here. And then Bear is the poop brown, of course. And then Wim and LKOA are this crimson red color. So that's all the colors on the map that you can see here. Um, so then it became kind of effectively a 6 versus 4, which I guess seemed fair in some ways, but um, Yude's activity just wasn't what we're used to seeing. We lost about 42 players after our previous season, and we filled in the gaps as best as we could. And in the end, between the poor tactical decision to spawn up here and then to change spawn region, we lost a good number of active players, and we were probably fighting with about 60 players for most of the season. Um, so that didn't bode well for our kingdom, and I apologize to Lame for our decisions, because I love Lame. They're great people. Wad, Big Daddy, Rob, all you guys are fantastic, fantastic people, and I genuinely feel upset and disappointed that we kind of brought this on you guys. At the same time, it did make for a very action-packed season. We fought our asses off all season long, no doubt about it. And let's face it, I've been saying it for a long time, and I'm going to continue to say. Till the day I die, but in games like this, I would rather lose a hard fought season than win and be bored. And so it's been from that standpoint, it's been a good season. Lots of fighting. And when I show you the merit leaderboard, I think you'll understand exactly what I mean. So at any rate, there was a lot of internal things happening within Yudz, and um, we were also looking at potentially merging with another team after the season. But then the end of the game, the sunset announcement came, and that just really took the wind out of everyone's sails. Pretty much all of Yude's leadership was gone, and I just didn't have it really, quite honestly, in me to carry the load on my own. I am not the kind of person who likes to dictate and just tell everyone what to do. I like to collaborate. I like to have support, and I like to collaborate with other people when it comes to making decisions. And without that, it just didn't it just wasn't my cup of tea. So I took a little break, and now I came back. Yay, we got this. So now we have the gold badge. I can show this to you in real time. Yay, this makes me happy. It makes me happy that in the end, Yudz and KSE will get the gold badge, and Lame and Unbroken will get the gold badge, and Bear can get their precious ring, and all the people who ditched their teams um, to go be with Bear to get a ring. I hope you're all very happy and proud of yourselves. Sincerely, respectfully. I'm not a mean person who likes to troll people for stuff like this. Look at this. There's a little pin up here. I didn't even know that. That's cute. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I have a lot of personal feelings about this server, and I don't want to air any of my dirty laundry on my platform. I don't think that's fair to me. I don't think that's fair to you. I don't think it's fair to anyone. So I'm not going to do it.
What?
I'm just going to give you the facts as they are. After the sunset announcement, like I said, a lot of Yude's leaders disappeared, and we probably got whittled down from 60 to about 30 active players. Skull and Hive Mind pretty much all went AFK. That's why they're just left with this here. They'll avoid the Explorer badge, and most of their active players merged with Bear or Dora. A lot of the active players from WIM, especially the whales, merged with into Bear. So they did a lot of consolidation. We did some consolidation. Utes, like I said, the active Utes players went over to Lame, the majority of us, and then Lame and Utes dropped Kingdom. Unbroken, a lot of their active players went over. I'm sorry, Moab. A lot of Moab's active players went to Unbroken. They dropped Kingdom and reformed this Purple Kingdom, and then Lame and Unbroken formed a kingdom together to see if we can make a stab at this to make things interesting, you know. Um, and I really liked seeing these kind of things happen because I understand it firsthand how difficult it is for people to sort of let go of their team, um, to let go of the power. to let go of their identity, because a lot of us have been in leadership roles with our teams for a very long time. So I thought it was cool to kind of see how everything evolved after that very shocking um, sunset announcement came out. I think everyone was really surprised and taken aback by it. They gave us less than 90 days left to play the game, which really isn't fair or appropriate or cool at all.
What?
One of my other favorite games, and I have videos of this game on my channel. You can go scroll down and you can find them, as a game called Realm Royale. That game also was sunset back in February of this year. And I had known that that game was going to be sunset for like 4 or 5 months before they turned it off. So I, for the life of me, don't understand the, and I don't won't pretend to understand the nuances of what happened with NetEase losing these rights to this game and having to turn it off,
Okay!
and why they couldn't have communicated to this to us sooner. Um, my personal opinion is they're just not a very organized company, and they just didn't care about this game or this platform or this community, and they haven't cared about it for a long time. Like, they stopped doing meaningful updates probably about 6 months ago, 8 months ago. It was really the last meaningful updates. So they were working with a skeleton crew development team for quite a while. A lot of the updates they were doing were fluff, cosmetic stuff. We changed the font on this, patched that, little teeny tiny fixes here that, really in no way impacted the quality of life for this game in any sort of a meaningful way. But that's ultimately the tale of this server, and that's going to really do it for my recap. Um, I don't think this will be my last video. I do have plans to continue playing this game at least for the next month. I think around the 17th of December will be when I stop playing, take a break for, the Christmas holidays, and say goodbye to the game forever. On my OG account will be the only account that I'll be playing really at that point. But yeah, so before I close everything out, like I had alluded to earlier, let's check out the leaderboard. So affluence, you can see Bear, Dora, a sprinkle of Unbroken, Perro, KSE, Whim. I'll just show you, like, yeah, this is enough. 33. And if you look at the team affluence levels, I mean, Bear is way on top. 4.5 million affluence is a solid amount of affluence. The next closest is almost a million affluence away, zero point 0.8 million affluence away. Unbroken. And then Whim at 3 million, Dora at 2.9, Lame at 2.9, Hive Mind at 2.6, LKOA at 2.4, Yudz and Pero and Moab at 2, and then Skull at 1.8, and KSC. This is a team that just formed from the ashes of Skull, by the way. Basically, after the game was sunset, um, most of Skull and Hive Mind started playing a different game, and the folks from KSC were like, all right, we're going to go do something
What?
else. And they went and formed their own team and made their own kingdom, and got to tip your cap to them. They did a lot of work in a short period of time, with few people. Um, Outstanding, outstanding. Like, I love seeing stuff like this. Teams making course corrections, adapting. It's good stuff. But yeah, so that's what happened with KSE and Skull and Yudes and Lame and Order. I'm not Order. Unbroken and Moab. and then Beardora just kind of coasting. Now the merit leaderboards are pretty dominated by lame at this point. Melky Cake on top. Obviously, this is like one of our great former Yudz players who came over to lame. Um, Craig and Rob also phenomenal players. Good old lamers. Armin, Goldfish, Cutie Pie on top for Bear. Talrin from Unbroken. Big Daddy Vampire Slayer. Myth Hollow. They went with a Halloween theme. Thackeray Binks, myself, Turcano. Although I'm not playing that account while I'm recording this, I'm actually playing the Terror account. Sea Bear from Bear. So we have what, 2 players from Bear. Kirby, another former Yudz. Dig Pilot from Bear. Hero from Bear. Immortals. Numenor. Yup Yup. AFK Duck Dash. Edgar Allan Poe. Glorfindel. Siri. The Nalani Files. Donnie Darktoe. Outlaws. The Isaac GH account. 666, another former Yudz. Tasks, former Yudz. KS Legion, coming in 55th. Captain Neton, who left Yudz to go and play a chill season with a smaller team. Still came in with 4.6 million merit. Must have been real busy in real life. Glad to see you ended up in Dora, where you can get yourself another gold badge. Congratulations. Jeffy, is that the first Utes person we've seen on here? Jeff Kaka? I think it is. Yeah. Jeffy on top for Utes with an actual Utes tag. So kudos to Jeffy. Jax Cali, former Utes. Oh, there's Legoloff as well. Kendo. Warlock. DP. DP joined Utes. He had stopped playing for a little while. He was having some real life issues, so totally respect that dude. Pumpkin Price, love that guy. And you can see we're almost through the top 100, and the bottom of the food chain is 3.8 million merit at rank 100. That is a lot of people with a lot of merit. And that is the sign of a great server. It doesn't matter who wins. It matters that people had fun playing the game. You played your asses off. Doesn't matter. If we had won, I would have said the same damn thing. As long as people are fighting and having fun, that is what the game is about.
What?
You can disagree with me. That's fine. I don't mind if you disagree with me, but that has always been and will always be my position in this game. And I wish we had had time before the servers shut down to put together a really one last big magnificent server with people who think the same way that I do. Because I had been working for a very long time to do that, and a lot of people were like, Turgon, that's a great idea. We should do that. And you know what? It never happened
Okay.
because there was always an excuse not to do it. Well, we're not ready. We don't want to fight this team. We don't like that team. There's always a reason not to do something. And it's very disappointing to me. But such is life. That's the way the cookie crumbles. I'm not going to complain about it. I just want to point out that's the way that it ended up being. Shrug. So that in a nutshell is really all I have for you. I went over the pins, I went over the leaderboards, I went over the map. I talked about everything that happened, and I just want to wish all of my friends in Yudz a fond farewell. What we built together, the legacy that we leave, I'll never forget it. In a lot of ways, being a member of this community enriched my life. And it was truly an honor to serve as one of your leaders pretty much throughout the course of our entire lifespan. I did a lot of the heavy lifting, everything from strategy to diplomacy, recruitment, and not a lot of people would argue that that for a while I kind of carried this team on my shoulders, and it's tiring. But I had a lot of fun doing it. I have no regrets, and I'm just going to leave it at that. So feel free to give me a like and a subscribe. I will probably make one or two more videos before hanging it up, hanging up my Rise to War shoes. I will record other things, or if you want, message me on Discord, Turgon9699, and I'll invite you to my Discord server where I'll stream live some of the things that I'm doing and playing. I'm not going to stream it on YouTube. I don't like streaming on YouTube, but I might. I could change my mind. I've been playing other games and I've been enjoying other games. It's been very liberating. I like to play Dota 2. I like to play World of Warcraft. Um, my kid makes me play Fortnite every now and again, and some other. You'll probably see me playing a smattering of other random games on Steam that he makes me play or other friends ask me to play. But I do want to make it abundantly clear that this is the last mobile app game that I will ever play, at least for some years. I have played mobile app games for 10 years. I played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes for 6 years. I played Game of Thrones Conquest for 3 years. Some of the three and the six overlapped there. And I played this game since the beginning, which is a little over 4 years. So I think with that, what I'd like to do before I wrap this up is I'd like to go over my original account's banners. So allow me just a moment. I'm going to log out and log into my OG account. Okay, we're back and I'm logged on to my original account now. Now, before I talk about anything or do anything, I just want to pay some proper homage to some really, really well deserving people. I've been playing multiple accounts for a while now. I've been playing three accounts for over a year, and I've reviewed these accounts earlier this year in a YouTube vid. Now, they've obviously undergone some evolution since then, but that's not important now. Um, my original account I gave to my friend Batukas. He is a wonderful man from España, and I wouldn't have been able to play these three accounts on my own. It's just there's not enough hours in the day. I don't have the time. I have real life responsibilities. So I truly, truly appreciate being able to give this to someone and say, take it, do what you want with it, run with it. I will support you when you sleep. I became the co-pilot. You're the main driver. So Batu did an outstanding job running this account for me for many seasons, ever since I inherited the D-Trope account. Shout out to my boy D-Trope. Hope you're doing well, bro. And shout out to Batukas. And also, I want to shout out my other dear friend who I have been playing this game with since season one. He goes by Aracano, formerly known as Swalisi. He has been the main pilot of the Turcano account, which is the former D-Trope account. And these two guys are outstanding players, outstanding human beings, and after this game is gone, I will miss you both dearly, and I hope you stay in touch. So, the beginning of my adventure started in Erebor. Um, that was the coolest faction that was available for me to pick when I logged into this game on the 3rd of October in 2021. And I played with a team called LOYG, Lords of the Iron Gate. The leader of this team was not quite all with it. And from what I remember, he was a bartender in the UK. He was a nice man, but he did not want to relinquish his power. But he didn't really play, and he didn't really deserve it. And there was a bunch of Russian guys on our team, and they wanted to take our team in different directions. They wanted to be friends with Rune, and we did not want to do that. And it caused a lot of consternation. Um, in the end, those guys separated from the team. We eventually got control of the team and kicked those guys off. And back then, you could betray each other within the faction. So, needless to say, there was a lot of betrayals that season. This season, the big highlight of my first season playing Rise to War, Linden was the team that won, and we're playing role play Erebor Rise to War. I have no idea why Elrond is showing here. This commander wasn't even in the game yet then. That's hilarious to me. But we tried to go and take our ancestral homeland, Moria, because we're nerds, and that's what we do. What we didn't understand was this thing called Fog of War, and we were trying to take it here. I'll kind of walk you through it real quick because the map hasn't changed that drastically since then. Let's go to Moria. Yes. So we were attacking it from the tunnels. The You can't attack it from the tunnels anymore, I don't think. Can you? Oh, I guess you can, but the tunnel is different now. They took that out. Back in the day, it was like a 5-minute march to get this thing from the tunnel. And you had no vision of what's going on over here because Fog of War is like, what, 8 tiles? So Linden sniped this right out from under us. I was so mad, but in hindsight, it was so funny. It was so funny and epic. And those guys and our team actually ended up merging for our second season together, um, where we became gold. So there's a lot of teams that have gone by the tag gold in this game, but I believe we were the first ones to do it. And this team was an extraordinary team. Ring level 225 that season. And I was very proud my first season that I reached a million merit. To me, the million merit mark was like, all right, that's the minimum that I would like to do. In the second season, I reached 2.2 million. I was very proud of that. And this season had a lot of drama. There was a lot of early in the season, a lot of like trash talking and between Mordor and Rohan and Gondor. And Rohan and Gondor, this is before the faction alliance system was implemented. So we had a gentleman's agreement to be allies to beat Mordor, and we beat the crap out of them. This season started on the 7th of December 21. By Christmas time, Mordor was pretty much um, was beaten. As a matter of fact, before they changed the rules as to when you could faction change, an entire warband in Mordor faction changed over to Rohan to be with us. So we went from having like three and a half teams to like a solid 4 teams in Rohan. Could you imagine having 4 full fellowships in a faction today? It's It's like I can't even wrap my head around it anymore because the changes to the game that they made just made things like this impossible. And some things happened between Rohan and Gondor, and we had found out that they were going to betray us, and there was like some squabbles over things between teams other than there was another team that I think that they took Moria and it pissed off Gondor. And then in the end, we just kind of chased Gondor around the map and killed them. I didn't really want to fight Gondor. I didn't really agree with that. So I actually dropped being the warband leader and just kind of hung out in Horondor and Mordor and just kept fighting Mordor all season while they ran around. In the end of the season, I got bored of that and kind of came and helped at the end and then caught a bunch of shit for that. I got shit for that season from everyone. This was the last season that I was actually a warband leader. Well, no, that's not true. I kept the golds together for season 3, which is the PTSD season. We decided to play as Elder, Eldar, because we were going to play Loth, right? So we were Lords of the Iron Gate and Erebor. We were Gold and Rohan, and we were the Eldar and Lothlorien. Now in season 3, this season arguably was the most awful season I ever played. The other members of my faction were the worst people I ever were forced to collaborate with in my life. I hated working with them. My thoughts and feedback were not respected nor valued. My forethought was not considered. And all the things that I predicted would happen ended up happening, which is so they decided that they were going to be friends with Angmar. Like I said, this is actually the first season that the faction alliance system was in existence. So we could have been allies with another team, and we were allies with Gondor. But you can't be a faction alliance, have a faction alliance with an opposing group. Like good versus evil. Good could only partner with good, and evil could only partner with evil. And they were like, we're going to partner with Angmar. And we're like, that doesn't make any sense at all. 'Cause they said that their friends were over there, and they started doing all this stuff basically as a proxy for Angmar, and we attacked Erebor, and ultimately we lost that fight, and then Angmar betrayed us, and we got zeroed. We literally got zeroed. No regions at all on the map. It was terrible. Um, I was fighting with like 9,000 resources per hour. Very, very low. Very, very hard. And I was far from a whale back then. I love how it's still showing Elrond as my top commander because I still don't think Elrond even existed in this season. I mostly use Celeborn this season. In this season, season two, I mostly used Gimli and Gandalf the Grey. I don't even remember who I used anymore in my first season. So this was an awful season, and I don't want to spend any more time rehashing it. Now, after this season, we merged with our partners in Gondor. There was a team called Serve, and we merged with Serve, and we remade Gold and played the first ever instance of the War of the Ring. Just want to point out this was an NRP season. This was our I don't know if this was RP or NRP. I don't know if that even existed the first season, but this was definitely NRP. And then we did RP, and then we did War of the Ring, which is also RP. And this first War of the Ring campaign was very boring. It was like I think 8, 9, 10 good side teams versus like 3 or 4 evil teams, and we just completely shit on them. Like it was not really, quite honestly, even that fun because it was just boring. There was nothing to do. And I don't really remember much beyond that, this server. I ended up with 2 million merit. I had to work hard for it. Isildur, I don't even know if Isildur was in the game yet this season. Maybe. Can't remember anymore. It's been so long. I mean, it's a long time ago. And then we formed Serve again, and we played in Erebor. I didn't really like Erebor. I don't like Erebor. I don't like that area, but I went by the name of Turgon the Grumpy Dwarf. And if you watch, I have a couple of videos from back then, and I call myself Turgon the Grumpy Ass Dwarf. My first season, I went by Decetheus, and then I went by Ecthelion, but I felt like I wasn't like I wasn't a whale or a kraken, so it didn't feel right to name myself Ecthelion. And I thought that I was more of like a wise kind of person than a pure warrior. So that's when I changed myself over to Turgon in season 3, Turgon the Wise in season 4, Turgon the Grumpy Ass Dwarf in season 5 with Serve. This was a crazy season, 2.5 million merit. There was a lot of shit that happened this season. A lot of the season, we in this season we were allies with Beer and Farm, and in within Erebor, and then our faction partner was Rohan, and it took a lot of work. Rohan basically got zeroed, but then we were able to get them in the Iron Hills. We left Iron Hills neutral, so they were able to capture Iron Hills and come over and be with us. And we mostly fought the Variags and Rune for quite a lot of the season, and they were very strong. But the big winner of the early part of this season was Lothlorien and Arnor, and that was the first time that I encountered a team called Jedi. And there was a couple the teams in Lothlorien, I forget what their names were now, but they bit off a little bit more than they could chew. They wanted to dominate the whole map, and I should also mention that the people from S3 that drove me crazy happened to also be on this server. I believe they were in either Linden or Gondor. So they were on the other side of the map from us. We never really got to see them at all. But in the end, the Variags had learned that Lothlorien were going to um, betray them, and so they broke their deal, and Variags ultimately ended up, winning this season. I don't know why it does. Oh, I guess since they took Variags out of the game, they can't even put the name here anymore. That is so disappointing that they do things, they make changes to the game that impacts permanent records like this. But yeah, the Variags won this season, and we felt that they deserved it because if they hadn't um, fought against Loth and Arnor, it wouldn't have been good. So that was ultimately what happened this season. And then after the serve season, we merged with a team and formed Ngup, Never Gonna Give Up, and we played in Rohan. And this was a pretty rough server. This was the first time we faced a full team of whales. There was a team on this server over, I think it was Variags again, and they went by the name of Babes, and they were really, really strong. They were really good, and we only had like 30, 40, 50 active players, and we just couldn't hang with that level of activity. We got kind of trapped in a box down in the south. We tried to go out in the west to mess with Arnor a little bit, but we got kicked out of there. And in the end, who won the server? Arnor. I think it was Arnor and Erebor. They had a faction alliance because I think it was Loki and them in Erebor, and they were faction allies with Arnor, who was Silk and another team that I can't remember now. And if you scroll through my channel, there might be a video on this somewhere where you can kind of rehash all of this. But yeah, I was not particularly happy with, a lot of the my experience playing this game was that diplomacy was the number one factor that determined the outcome of seasons, and I just hated that. And that happened to me 3 seasons in a row here, basically, because the diploma. I explained what happened here. We were comfortable with taking the gold badge and not winning because the diplomacy, the Variags deserved the win. But this one, just getting shoved in a box, and while all the other teams did their ring war stuff. Didn't sit well with me. And then this season, I joined Loki, which is the team that won this season, and we came across a team called Yadu. Now, Yadu and Loki had history, and that ultimately shaped a lot of what happened on the server. And I didn't agree with all the things, and in the end, I can't remember all the nuances for why, but I ended up following my friend Detrope, who was the leader of this NSFW team, and that was the first time that I hit 3 million merit, and I was extremely proud of that because I'm not a whale, and I was fighting mostly whales, and I always particularly struggled against good side teams. I always was a better player against evil back in 1.0. So after that season, I decided that I was going to go and do my own thing, and I played Lord of the War of the Ring with a team called Mesh. I started this season on a team called Dark, but Dark's activity was pretty low, and they didn't really want to listen to me. So I left and joined Mesh, and they were very nice, and we were partners with a team called Sum, and so it was basically like, you know, 100 Mesh, 100 Sum, and like 30 to 50 members of Dark, and we were facing like 6 or 7 fellowships. So it was like 600 versus like 250. And we just won it on the last day. I think to this day, this goes down as the most exciting season I ever played. This was the season where I met my good friend Kirby. Shout out to Kirby, great dude. And had a lot of fun. Swalisi came with me this season, and then another guy from my crew, Morpheus, who quit playing the game after 2.0 deployed. They were the only friends that came with me for this server. The rest of my friends went and joined Yadu. And then after this season, I joined Yadu too. And that was the beginning of my experience with Yadu. This was my 8th season. This is my 9th season. So most of my seasons playing, I've played this game 21 seasons total. I played 3 seasons with Yadu, and I played 7 or 8 with Yudz. We'll get to that. So in this season, it was we were playing as Rohan and MORG were in Gundabad, and they basically united the whole server against us, and we were faction allies with Lothlorien. Um, I had friends on a team in there called Swim, and there was all kinds of drama on this server that was completely crazy and insane. So this was a crazy server. There was a lot of incredible battles on this server, and in the end, we were able to win it with our whale power, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great introduction to Yadu, being part of that team. And then we went and we played the War of the Ring, and this was sadly the last time I got to play the War of the Ring. But this server was a great server. MORG were on the server. There was about 3 or 4 war bands, evil war bands playing on the server, and about, I want to say, 5, 6, maybe 7 good side fellowships. So there was Yadu, there was Swan, there was Gray, there was Hisp, there was Tower. Those are the 5 that I can remember off the top of my head. I have to go and revisit my season recap video to really remember all of them. Um, and I think Hive Mind were also on the server as well with us, but they weren't a full team. And then the evil side had MORG, and I can't remember any of the other teams now, but it was a hell of a server, and it was a lot of fun. I was actually number 1 in merit on this server. It's the only server I was number 1 merit on, and I was pretty proud of that. The next season was the prank season where Yadu and What were partners. We formed the kingdom called What You Doing, and I thought that was the. I think that's the the most clever and silly name for a kingdom to this day. But it was a really, really hard season because Pran Prac had 5 teams at least. They had Pran, Prac, Ibis, Vsop, and there was another kingdom that was pink that also had some sort of a PRA, Pran Prac. I don't remember what the other one was now. There's probably a video on this too. And there was just no way that we could win basically 5 versus 2. We were allies with Pyrrha and Rangers, I think they were, but uh, they weren't as active or as strong, and they just didn't have quite the impact that we needed in order to really compete on the server. And um, in the end, they allowed us to have the Grey Havens so that we would avoid the Explorer badge, which was kind of them, and we appreciated that very much. And then I decided to take a season off from Yadu, and I joined another team on this our Tactics Evolved RP server, and this was when 2.0 dropped. And when 2.0 dropped, like overnight, 60% of the community vanished, and it was crazy. And all kinds of drama unfolded on this server that I am not going to touch with a 10-foot pole. But in the end, I created my own warband, the Hidden Kingdom of Gondor, and I was part of the Linden faction, which got the ring. Yay me! And I still hit my million merit goal. And after that season, that's when I joined Yudz. And this was probably the second worst server that I ever played on, just because it was boring. We won the server outright very, very quickly and easily. We fought Jedi and their partner for like, I don't know, a day or two out in the West, and then they kind of gave up. And we tried to make one of the unoccupied areas in like the Rohan region, um, kind of like a free for all, and no one really showed up, and we just kind of took it all. You can see I didn't make my million merit goal this season because there was no one to fight. No one wanted to fight us. Most of the season we fought ourselves in Paths of the Dead, and this goes down as one of, if not the most boring seasons ever. There was one other season that was almost as boring, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So that was my first season in Utes. Next season in Utes, we challenged the greatest teams maybe in the history of the game. Um, Meta and Chaos were a kingdom, and they ultimately, for most of the season, had been allies with Lame and Pran. And then our partner was Gods, and we were allies with Eilil and Order. And this season was a crazy season. 35-day battle pins in Undeep's. That's where the Undeep's PTSD um, emoji came from. And it was a crazy season. Meta spawned on top of Eilil and Order and just decimated them. By day 3, they chose to relocate to another unoccupied region just so that they could get farm and develop and play the game. And we fought against Lame and Pran, and ultimately I think that we had the upper hand against them. But in the end, in order to balance the server, it ended up kind of being a meta chaos, Lame Pran versus Yud's Gods, Eilil Order. Meta and Chaos needed to keep people out west to kind of keep Eilil and Order from going and eating their farmlands. And in the end, what happened, to my recollection, was Meta and Chaos took the ring without really talking about it with Lame and Pran, and that kind of made them mad. So Lame and Pran went and took Gundabad so that they couldn't get the ring badge. So no one won this season. Everyone got gold badges. And honestly, I think that is the perfect way for a season such as this to end. Because for me personally, like I said earlier, the game is about having fun and fighting. and it doesn't matter who wins. So on a server where no one wins, it just kind of underscores the it doesn't matter who wins because no one won. We all fought our asses off. We were playing 10, 12, 14 hours a day. There were times where it looked like we were going to lose on deeps, and we just were able to take it back. It was a very, I would have to say that this season, between this season and my eighth season, that one uh, War of the Ring season that I played as Evil, I was telling you about, these two were the most exciting two seasons I played this game. Those were kind of the climax of this game. The next season was when I started playing the Detrope account, and the Turocano account was born, and Batukas took over here. And this season it was Yudz and um, Sella. Sella was kind of mostly run by former Siva, and they were about 60 players, and we partnered them with Yudz, and we were fighting Gods and Eilil, as well as Toby and um, Bank. I think they went by Doby back then, but in the end, they're most recently they were named Toby. Um, so in the end, that server was another server where Toby and Bank decided to kind of snatch the ring while they had an opportunity to. There was a 4v2 happening in Lorien between Gods, Eilil, and Toby and Bank versus Yudz and Sella. And the fighting there was very intense for, if I recall correctly, about 10 or 11 days. But then Toby and Bank decided to take Dol Guldur, and admittedly, someone from that team, Law, shout out to Law, had told me they knew that by doing that, it was going to piss everyone off, and we were going to come for him. And sure enough, that's what happened. And in the end, we did take the ring from them and won the season. The next season was the 10v2 season. This was also another crazy season. So between this was a season where uh, and you can this is well documented on YouTube. You can go back and watch those videos where it was Yudes and Gods versus Eilil Order, Dome Bull, Hisp Free, and Neon, and I forget what the other team was. And I think there was another kingdom too. Oh, was it RUSC and somebody else? I'm thinking I can't remember who it was that was up kind of in the Gundabad regions. Um, Bull Dome was Erebor. Um, Hispfree were in Rune. We were in Mordor. Gods were in Gondor. Neon was in Rohan, and Eilil Order were out in the west. And Isla Order organized that whole server against us to gangbang us, and we were able to hold and win. And there was some diplomacy that happened towards the end where we kind of were able to convince HISP to break from their alliance, um, and that kind of gave us what we needed to get over that final hurdle and win that season. Crazy season. The next season was a very boring season. It was a season where we partnered with Iron for the first time. Gods and Yudes went their own separate ways, and we faced uh, VSOP, and I forget who the other team was. Was it Ibis or Pran or 1T? That's what it was. It was VSOP and 1T. And as you can see, I had 3,000 merit this season because they flat out refused to fight us. I think we fought them for like 6 or 8 hours in Mordor, and they just never came out to fight really much ever again. This would be the second most boring server that I ever played behind the season where we fought ourselves in Paths of the Dead. This would be boring season number two. There's nothing else to talk about this season. No one fought us. We took as much of the map as we could because there was nothing else to do. So that's what we did. The following season, Iron merged with Lame. Lame and Yudz partnered and fought Aces. This also is a season that is well documented. It was a crazy season. Lame fought Order out in the West and was able to beat Order, and Yudz was able to hold Aces, and in the end, we were able to win the day. I'm just going to leave that at that. The following season was the season where we joined a server kind of last second, and everyone decided to gangbang us.
Okay!
It was a 6 versus 1. Our partners were Soul, and Soul was very nice. Pac-Man was lovely to work with, but his team just wasn't very active or impactful. So, like, when I did crunch the numbers for merit that season for our kingdom, Yudes had 80% of the merit and Soul had 20%. So I'm rounding down when I say 6v1. It's more like 6v1.2. And I don't mean to say that in any way to disrespect Soul or Patman at all. Like I said, they were wonderful to work with. We weren't able to help us in the way that we needed. And in the end, by day 21, we had lost every region, every capital, almost every tile that we had. We were just got crushed by this gangbang. And who gangbanged us? Well, it was Ilil and Noad and Fire and Neon and Keon and Desal. And after we were zeroed, we kind of chilled for about a week, and then we made an agreement to become partners with Heon and Desal to make it more of a 4v4 as opposed to like more like a 4v 3.2. You consider my previous math. Um, to make things interesting, to make the server come to life, and it did. It certainly did. I had a lot of merit that season. It was a crazy season. We worked very very hard. We almost got a gold badge, but Ilil took one of our significant structures within the last few hours of the season, so we were not permitted to have a gold badge. And last season was another season that was kind of on the more boring side against DK. It was a long season. DK basically wanted to zero all the small teams or unite them against us for another gangbang. And we just didn't want that to happen. So we worked with the other teams and, um, you know, just want to also give a shout out to Ras Al Ghul, who had passed away during the season. He was the leader of Banished. Just give him, one final shout out because he was a very nice man and I adored him. He was very kind to me and easy to work with. And it would have been interesting to see what this server would have been if if he hadn't passed. And I'm very very sad for that to this day. And you never want to hear about anyone passing. And I have heard about a number of people passing in this game, and it makes me very sad. So my heart goes out to Ras and his family. Hope you're all doing well. And that's the most recent history. That's everything. And then we have this season, which I've already walked you through. So that is my history in totality of playing Lord of the Rings Rise to War. But it's not done yet. And what am I going to do next? Well, some of you may already know, some of you may not. But I'm not going to tell everyone until the next video. So until next time, I wish you all well. Thank you again to everyone on this insane server. At any rate, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this very, very long video. Take one final look at the map. This is the last map that will have Yudz on it in Lord of the Rings Rise to War. Again, my most sincerest and heartfelt thanks, all the love in the world to anyone who has ever played with Yudz. Thank you for being a part of this incredible community, and thanks for having me as one of your leaders, and I appreciate y'all very much. All right, that's all for me, my friends. Turgon the Wise signing off. Cheers.